All right, here we go. Let's get it. Aswand, Cruickshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork that you will not get anywhere else. Let's get into this Harrison Buckner commencement speech. All right, for those of you who don't know, this past week, recording this May 19th, 2024, a time of year where there's a lot of college graduations, and there was a controversial end quote speech given by the place kicker of the Kansas City Chiefs named Harrison Buckner, in which there were some things that were, quote unquote, said that were controversial and has created a huge uproar because he supposedly or allegedly, using these terms because this is just kind of hearsay, set women back and told them they don't need to be thinking about their careers. They need to be thinking about being a mother, being a homemaker, all those kinds of things. All that stuff that was being said. All right, now, again, I gave myself about a day before I actually responded to this because, again, myself initially as a public speaker and former football player, I'm always going to come to the defense. Naturally, I'm going to come to the defense of the player. That's just a natural reaction for me. So I wanted to hear from other people who disagreed, who really took offense to what he said and didn't like what he said. I wanted to give myself a day to kind of simmer on it, kind of let it fester in my mind a little bit before I actually reacted to it. And as far as my overall take on it, first things first, all right, the only issue I personally had, and again, I listened to the speech, I actively listened to it. Again, this is someone who's been in the public speaking game for a minute now, done the Toastmasters, had to actively listen to speeches and, I hold myself accountable to give a speech every single day on this YouTube channel. So I have become seasoned as a speaker. And the only contradiction that Harrison Buckner actually said in his speech, overall, first of all, we gotta recognize his courage to speak against leaders, to speak against something that's unpopular that he knew was going to get a ton of backlash. So we gotta give him praise. I gotta praise him for his courage to do so. That's number one. But the only contradiction that he made was when he said something about his wife leaning into her vocation as a wife and a homemaker and a mother. And then he went on to say something about how if you asked her if she would have given up her career, she would say that she would say that she has no regrets for giving up her career. But then he went on to say that she's an educator to the son. So, the reason I say that's a contradiction is because being an educator is actually a career. All right. Being an educator is actually a career. The only issue is being an educator isn't a valued career because it doesn't bring in the low. Actually, it doesn't bring in the normally, we'll say it like this. Normally, it doesn't bring in a ton of revenue being an educator. However, being an educator can create a lot of money for you if you are the entrepreneurial type educator like I am. So it was kind of some contradictions there, but he also did admit, this is something that he pointed out in the speech, and nobody wants to talk about this, but he also did explain to people and he did mention the fact that he's an amateur public speaker, meaning this isn't what he does every single day. He doesn't know when to kind of hold back or say this or say that. This was a written speech that he was just reading off what he had already written. He wasn't necessarily feeling the energy of the crowd. He was reading it and he was honestly speaking from his heart. The best part of the speech, to be honest with you, was when he actually got emotional thinking about all the things that his wife actually does. All right. So all that being said, let's get to the reaction. Let's get to what the real issue is, because when I heard people's backlash, when I heard the folks who took issue with what he said, it really wasn't an attack on him. What's ridiculous about this whole situation is that the NFL, the spineless National Football League, and the spineless Kansas City Chiefs are not coming to the defense of their player in this. They're actually taking the stance of, I want to distance myself from the player, which I feel like is complete bullshit. And the fact that I actually wanted to be a part of that league and be a part of these organizations, it sickens me to see how they don't take any pride whatsoever in the courage that the player actually had to say what he feels and do what it is he needs to do. But they would promote shacking up type of relationship with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. They promote, guys who, again, probably 80 to 90% of his teammates who have baby mama dramas, have kids coming up all over the place, all these sort of alimony payments and child support payments and a bunch of shacking up. They'll praise that. They won't say shit about that, but they actually have there's actually a fucking a petition to get him kicked off the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're considering that. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Okay, that's bullshit, because what really had the backlash. Okay, let's talk about the backlash. Let's talk about some of the things that people said that they didn't like, that they took issue when it comes to Harrison Buckner. It was not an attack on him. And this is important for him to recognize, and anybody that's looking to get into public speaking and get into the game of public speaking. This is why positioning and knowing who you want to speak to on a regular basis, this is why it's so important when you get into public speaking, because the shots that he's taken are not necessarily shots on him. He just said something that simply triggered a lot of career-oriented women, and they've spent their entire life thinking that they had to pick between a career and a marriage. That's what has happened. That is the situation. That is the only thing people are actually mad at. They're not actually mad at Harrison Buckner for what he said. They're mad at the fact that they have lived under this assumption that they have had to pick between a career and a marriage and a family. That's what they're mad at. That's what they're upset with. So they need somebody to blame. They need somebody to be upset with, because he hit a trigger that was very, very important, a very, very important issue that we need to bring up. Now, if you're mad at him, then you shouldn't, you shouldn't, if you're going to be mad, we'll say it like this. If you're going to be mad at Harrison Buckner, then be mad at the college system. All right, be mad at the overall college system that celebrates. This is what happens. And I've been again, you're speaking to someone that graduated from a Catholic high school, went to a college, a small liberal arts college, very much similar to Benedictine. The name of it was Carson Newman College. Moved home, went to a public community college while working at a gym, and then finished off at a big public university, and then also attended classes online. I've been to every single type of school you can imagine. And the actual issue is how much we're actually celebrating the people who are shacking up. We're making that system, we're making it okay for a boyfriend and a girlfriend to live together without any commitments whatsoever. We're making it okay. We're making that issue fine. We're making it okay for people to have kids before they get married. We're celebrating people like that, and that is actually the issue. So don't be mad at someone who comes out and calls it out and explains to people how much that is actually a detriment to society, how much that's actually killing our kids. And in fact, what really drives me crazy is the fact that no one brought up that, or no one is talking about the fact that he spoke about how being a husband is important to him. No one is talking about or praising him for the fact that he spoke on, hey, absentee fathers is killing the home and all that, because all the other stuff that he dropped that were great things for our young college graduates to take into consideration upon graduation. No one's talking about that, but they're talking about the little kind of misquote or issue, contradiction that he made that makes you now feel like, oh, well, I have to pick my career, or I picked my career over having a marriage, which is bullshit, because you can have both. In fact, I'll close you out with this because I knew I was going to get long-winded on this. Like, actually, I'll do an article. I'll write an article. I'll have this in the written format and probably do a longer episode on this, because there's a lot of things that this can come up with. But this is, well, I gotta take you back. There was a take about 3 or 4 years ago when Cam Newton had said something similar, some controversial remark about, women running routes, or women talking about running routes. And, he was getting a lot of the same backlash that Harrison Buckner is getting now. And my favorite take while all that was going on was when Molly Quorum, I'm telling you, Molly Quorum went on First Take, the host of First Take. Molly Quorum went on First Take, and in my opinion, this was the best take she's ever given, right? This was the best take she has ever given, and she's given some good ones, but this was my favorite. She said, look, why can't it? She stopped Stephen A. Smith, she stopped everyone. It was her show at this point, right? She goes, why can't women have both? Why can't we have both? She walked us through her day. She goes, look, I woke up, I got all done up, I'm looking good, I come, I have my career, I do this, and why can't it be both? Why can't women have a career, have a marriage, and a family? Why can't they have all of it put together? When did we get to a situation in which women got to pick between the two? And that's the issue. The issue is we've let it happen over and over again, in which we celebrate this shacking up, we celebrate the kids who are being born. You know, we have baby showers and fucking gender reveals for two people who aren't even married yet. You know, we're celebrating them having sex, basically having regular sex and all that, and we make it okay. We create an opportunity to make that okay, and that is the issue. Especially, again, speaking from the perspective of someone whose family has come from a Caribbean background, where, you know, social drinking is the norm, partying is the norm, getting, you know, just again, hooking up and doing all these things is the norm. That is the issue. Somebody has to step up, and this is why I'm so proud of Harrison Buckner for what he said. Somebody has to step up and say, look, this isn't okay. It's not okay, because it's killing our families. It's killing the growth and development of our young people. And as someone that teaches now and sees the effects of it now, and sees how misguided a lot of these kids are, and sees how misguided a lot of these female adults are as they're graduating, as they're coming up, they're confused about what it is they need to do. It's all because they have the assumption, they're spending every single day having the assumption that they got to pick between a career and a man. I can go for hours and hours and hours on this very issue. The amount of women that I know personally who've had to get rid of who had abortions, have gotten rid of their babies while they were in college. This isn't some growing. I'm talking about women who were in college trying to study and get themselves together. They've had to get rid of babies, dude. All right, this is the issue that he brought up. So if people aren't necessarily mad at him, at Harrison Buckner per se, but the system and the triggers that he brought up is something that needs to be discussed, and it is actually an issue that we need to talk about. And again, I know I knew I was going to get long-winded on this, but this is an important issue for me to discuss. And I will do a longer and a deeper dive on this situation. Also, there'll be a written article about this, because it is very important that we break this down all the way to its core, keep it all the way funky. It is actually going to help when it comes to the survival of our kids, and the way our young kids, their mindset is when it comes to their commitment, how they focus, how quickly they focus on their career, how quickly they focus on what it is they're trying to do, how quickly they focus on who they want to be with, and what kinds of things they want to take part of. All of that is very, very important to teach our young people. All right, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, makeyourmove.com. That's MAKEYAMOVE.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. Aswand, Cruickshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.